So, I've been thinking a lot about the personality destruction that takes place at the end of relationships. And I think, like, the idea of what's going on often with people is I've built you up, so now I have to tear you down. And this is obviously something that seems to happen more with women than men, but it happens with both. And both do the same things. Like this, I've built you up into this image, and now I have to tear you down to get past you. And it's something I never did, and in my opinion, much to my own detriment, because I never get past things. And it's not like in the sense of like where I obsess bitterly over people. Like, to me, I always saw it as like, how can I do this if I was saying I love this person? Like, how could I then attack them? How could I be cruel? Like, it would make everything I said a lie. It would make me a liar. It would make my love a liar. And that I just cannot do. But several times at the end of relationships, I remember one girl told me, like, I know you're calling me and hanging up. And, like, this really hurt me. Because I was like, you think I would do that? Like, I wouldn't waste the time, number one. Like, that's stupid. It's never something I would do. And number two, like, when have you ever known me to be subtle? Like, I'm blunt about things. I try and make sure everyone knows what's going on. I try and make sure issues are clearly understood, because like if an issue is not confronted, it will fester and rot and kill. Issues, no matter how distasteful, no matter how ugly, no matter how less than stellar it may make a person look, including myself, the issue must be confronted. Otherwise, there is no chance of fixing it. This is just not the way I do things. I am very direct in it. I try to get right at the heart of things. So it would hurt me when someone would say that, or like, I know you were cheating on me. And it's like, you know what I want out of a relationship. Like, you can't get out of a night or two with someone. You can't get out of a casual relationship with someone. You can't get out of casual sex with someone. Like, these things don't have any resonance to me. They're not what I seek out. And it would always blow my mind that people would always tell me, or the women I was dating had always told me, like, I think you're cheating on me. And I thought it had to do with their own insecurities, because it's just not something I thought about. And then at the end of one relationship, the girl told me, like, you had started dating this girl before we had broken up. I was like, you're insane. Like, you couldn't possibly believe that. But I saw she did, and like the words I was saying were having no resonance with her. So I just let it go. But like I was like, you, in my own mind, like, you couldn't possibly believe that. Like, you know me. You know what I look for. You know what I want out of something, out of a relationship, and like, it can't be gained in these ways. Like, these thin connections mean nothing to me. And although I'm no stranger to casual sex, like, it's meaningless to me. Like, it's like taking out the garbage. Like, it means nothing to me. Uh, I perhaps that's because of like abuse early in childhood, and the way I have to look at sexuality is like distant, uh, and just so I can exist in a somewhat manageable state. Because if I looked at it in a different way, it would, the stuff that happened would be too overwhelming for my mind to take in. But nevertheless, it was like that. I I wouldn't waste my time doing that when I could have been with you. Like that what I want is you. Like that doesn't make any sense. But once someone hasn't started to engage in this like personality, what I call personality destruction, it's like there's a reframing of events often, and I think part of it is to get over things. And I've said again and again, I built you up, and now I have to tear you down, because otherwise I could never get over you. And in my own existence, like I don't do this. I in my mind I consider it like emotional cannibalism. There's a scene in the movie Sin City when the priest is talking about with his choir boy, and he's talking about how he eats people, and there's a line he says, and he's like, "And I joined in," and like the conviction in his voice is, it's always what I felt about that. Like, I will not join this kind of emotional cannibalism. Like, I won't attack someone that I just said I loved and that I like did and that I do. Like, I won't do that. That's that's poison. Like, that's disgusting. It would make me into a liar. Like, I won't do it. And I'm not saying other people should view it this way, obviously, because I view that this has been to my own detriment. Because things that happened 5, 10, 15 years ago might as well have happened yesterday to me. So, I think ultimately, like, kept in proportion, of course, the personality destruction. Like, and dudes do the same thing with, like, she's a whore, she's this, she's that, you know. It's they built this person up and now they have to tear them down and talk bad about them because it allows them to go on to the next person. And you know, as I've repeatedly said now, like I can move on, but I hold on to things. And I mean, in the past 5 years, I've been in no relationship, so it's at this point, you know, I have a different view on it. I'm not gonna get lost into that. But every relationship I've been in my eyes, all at the end, it was always you hurt me. Like and if that's the end result, what's even the point? Like I'd rather just not hurt people. Like, and maybe I'll come to have a different view on it at some point. But like, I always put so much effort into building them up and making them feel special and important, and in the end you're telling me all I did was hurt you. What's the point? You know, I'm not saying that's a healthy opinion of things either. So, but the personality destruction thing I do think is relatively normal. It does seem that it can be taken too far, and oftentimes people like really maliciously try and hurt each other. uh, and I think even doing that like is going to make the person later feel very bad and insecure about themselves, because what you do to other people, you perceive the world will do to you. And it immerses your mind deeper in it. This is why I, in general, if you can avoid hurting someone, I believe people should try to avoid. If you're under distress or someone's trying to hurt you or victimize you or something, yeah, that's a different story. But like lashing out at people who aren't really a danger to you or trying to hurt you and things like that, you're hurting yourself as well. Like the old, you know, convict saying, "Hurt people, hurt people." It is very true. But what you do to others, you perceive the world will do to you, and that is unhealthy as well. But I do think it's relatively normal. You know, I've built you up and now I tear you down and now I get past you. And then you can look back on it and not see all those negative things necessarily. Maybe some tend to view the past with rose tinted glasses and some tend to view it as always bad. But, you know, usually the truth is in between. But I do think it's normal. I I obviously don't think it is the healthiest, and it was never something I did, but my way never served me either. So I can't recommend that, people abstain from like any kind of bitterness or anger or things like that, because it does seem to be the way that people get past it in their own mind. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I realize I don't have the best words. Like, personality destruction is a specific phenomenon, uh, and it is not this, but it in the colloquial sense rather than the explicit psychological sense. And I know, people like, don't you say people shouldn't use psychiatric term. I'm not using a psychiatric term. I didn't even remember that it was a psychiatric term until I was in the middle of this. But, um, you know, I'm obviously not using it in the sense of a psychiatric term. I'm using it in the sense of people tear down the person they've built up, which is, how they view that person's personality. They build it up and view it as like put it on a pedestal, and then to get past it, they have to tear it down and see the person is wrong in all these other ways, and they did this wrong and that wrong, and this is what's wrong with them, and they never cared about this or that. I thought it was an interesting topic. I can't remember a time I've ever heard anyone bring it up, you know. So take it for what it's worth, I guess. Probably not much.